All right, today's fundamental video is going to be on kickturns. So we did pumping last time. The next step after pumping is kickturning, and I'm going to assume most of you guys have done some kickturns of sort on flat ground, but we're going to kind of start on flat ground, showing you the basics there and how it applies to ramp essentially, which is almost directly, and we'll start going through them. All right, the two basic kick turns are backside and front side, and this is all derived from surfing. And just think of the coping, the top of the ramp being the crest of the wave, and depending on which part of your body is facing it, that's what dictates which side. So my back is facing the top of the ramp, it's backside. If my front's facing it, it's front side. So that's how we get the name for backside and front side. So for backside, I'm turning in, I can see where I'm going. So for most people, backside is easier. And in order to do a kick turn or to do a tic-tac motion, turning motion on flat ground, the same idea applies. You're gonna be putting a little pressure on your tail to lift up your front wheels. So you're gonna be putting a little pressure on your tail to lift up your front wheels. And as you put that pressure on your tail, you're gonna lift up your front leg just slightly so those front wheels can come off the ground easier. And at the same time, you're turning your shoulders in the direction you wanna go. So for backside, you're turning your shoulders towards that way and your head. So that's a backside kick turn on flat ground, or tic-tac. Tic-tac's actually back and forth. Front side is the opposite. So only thing I do a little bit different on front side is I hang my front toes off a little bit to help kind of grab my board and keep it with me, because your foot has a tendency to migrate off of the board. So pushing down on the back foot to lift the tail, lifting up on your front foot a little bit, your front leg, to help those front wheels come off easier, turning your shoulders in the direction you want to go. So that's how it looks on flat ground. Now let's see how it works on the transition. So as you're coming up the transition, once you get to a point where you're about to stop moving forward, but before you do, is when you want to make your turn. And same thing as on the flat, you're going to push down on your tail, on your back foot, to lift your front wheels up, kind of take a little weight off of that front leg so the front wheels come up easier. Turn your shoulders, and in one smooth motion, turn your body and your board all the way back in. And the biggest thing here is to stay over your board, so that your center of gravity is over your board. That way you don't fall backwards when you turn, because a lot of people, they'll go up and they'll start to turn, but they'll lean it back too much and they'll fall back. So I've heard somebody say before, one of the biggest things to know about skating ramp is to not lean back. And for the most part, that's true. That'll help you. Don't want to lean back dropping in. You don't want to lean back kick turning. So most things, leaning too much forward is going to be a better bet than leaning back. So let's do front side now, which is essentially the same thing. It's just you're kind of turning a little bit blind side, which can be scarier for some people, a lot of people. So same thing here, coming up the transition, when while you still have forward momentum is when you want to make your turn. As you're coming up the transition, you want to put weight on your back foot, so you press on your tail, lifting your front wheels up, take a little pressure off the front foot so your wheels come up easier. You don't want to go too much, just enough. Make that turn by turning your shoulders in your head. One fluid motion if you can. Lean forward to make it all the way back in. I recommend practicing front side and back side simultaneously. That way that you don't end up having a weakness. You can do both of them because they're going to be important in all of skateboarding tricks. You want to be able to do it both ways. It just opens up so many more doors. So I definitely recommend, and certainly start lower on the transition and gradually work your way up. So you can do a little one down here and then just baby steps up. That's another huge thing with learning any tricks in skateboarding, is trying to start small. So if you have a skate park or any place where you have different size quarters, just start on the smallest ones you can find first and gradually increase it as you can. But even if it's a larger quarter, you can still learn kick turns lower down on the transition and slowly work your way up. Now I'm going to show you all of the other variations of kick turns that you can do on transition. So front side and back side off of both your tail and your nose, and then the caballerial versions of those, or well, it's only caballerial if it's fakie. So the 360 versions of both of those, in addition to switch kick turns, which is just switching your stance to where your opposite foot is in the front versus what's normal feeling for you, which I recommend learning all of these as well. It's going to help you be able to come out of and into tricks in all variations. So learning this as just a kick turn early on is really going to be beneficial. I practice it every day just as a warm-up, but yeah, I highly recommend learning these variations. And again, same thing applies with all of these essentially. Start lower, work your way up. And it's all based on pushing down on the foot that you're wanting to lift with and lifting up on the foot where the wheels you're wanting to come up. So pushing down on the nose, lifting up on the back foot if you're turning off of your nose. Same thing with fakie, and it's all about distributing your weight over your board as evenly as possible. And this is where you will lean back when you're going backwards. But you always want to lean into the direction of the flat bottom, like away from the ramp, at least somewhat, is a counterbalance. So we'll start just going through all these. This is up my nose. Okay, now for fakie 360s or caballerials. Off your nose. And switch kick turns. So I'm goofy foot, so this will be now regular foot kick turns. kick turns. Get out there and learn them.